Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the evolution of the MiG-21, the classic Isdilia 72 on up kind of a thing like that. The MiG-21 is a very interesting aircraft, basically saw its initial kind of foray into the world of operation in 1959 with the classic F model. Again, there's many variations of the MiG-21. And to give you an idea of just how big and how popular of an aircraft this was, if I pop up the database viewer and I type in MiG-21, you can see that there are many versions, and you can see there are many users as well. This one is right up there with the F-16. Now, in the previous series, when we did the F-16, we had basically three videos kind of covering it. But the MiG-21s, believe it or not, as complex as they are, they're not quite as complex. We'll save a video for that for submarines. So the MiG-21 comes in four major generations. The first generation is the Forest, which I probably did an awful job pronunciating, which was basically the effort to make a daytime fighter with very high speed, good interception capabilities. So if I were to quickly grab my little database viewer real fast here and type in F-13, you can see the early version of the MiG-21. Now, there's a couple things you'll notice physically about the MiG-21 here. The first thing you'll notice here is the presence of a bubble canopy. When people think of the MiG-21, they always think of kind of that straight back little thing in the back, but this one actually had a proper bubble canopy on it. It had a nice cannon underneath of it. It could pack 2 missiles, which is awesome for the time. And of course, if you take a quick look at it, you realize a big old delta wing, pretty maneuverable aircraft. And again, the little F there just refers to the word uprated. Now, the interesting thing about the earliest version of the MiG-21 that was kind of big and popular, other than the F model, which the Soviets used directly, is the fact that this is a daytime fighter. And, most annoyingly, it only has a range-only radar. So what I've done for this scenario to kind of demonstrate the generations is I have a couple things going on here. I have a ground attack scenario up here, and of course I have the more traditional air intercept, which is what they'd be used for down here. So let's demonstrate the first generation here. So let me head on down here. I'm going to hide the multi-missions. I'm going to go ahead and grab, don't worry, I won't do them all at once. I'm going to grab the F-13 model and order them into my intercept mission that we've got going on down here. Now I'm going to go ahead and unpause, and we'll talk about the actual intercept mission in a second. We're detecting things. Now keep in mind the early versions of this were designed to be point interceptors. That means short range, very high speed, controlled by GCI. This aircraft, the MiG-21, the first generation, had no ability to detect targets with its own radar. It can only determine the range to the targets. Now, because we're up here in Murmansk, the Kola Peninsula, the weather's garbage. It's minus 11 Celsius, and there's clouds everywhere. There was another really big downside to this variation of the MiG-21, and that was the fact that even though it had this awful super-duper short-range radar, it only packed the disappointing R-3S missile. Now, this is basically a copy of the AIM-9B missile, and it is awful. It is extremely short range. I think I read one time on one of the Vietnamese top aces were basically using this to say, well, it's effective if you go less than 1,500 yards with it, which is not a lot for a missile. You might as well use a cannon at that point. Speaking of cannon, the F-13 did have a cannon, which was a little unique because we're going to take the cannon away in a minute, and that's going to cause all sorts of interesting problems. So at the beginning of the scenario, you see, we can see we've launched 8 of our F-13 models here. They're running around trying to do trouble, and they're getting slapped out of the sky by these AIM-7s, packing by F-4s. Now, I don't love the AIM-7, but one thing that the AIM-7 achieved here is it basically scattered all the MiG-21s, and they had to run. Another interesting thing to know about the early generation is there's no radar warning receiver. But you can see here, we've got ourselves a pretty good scenario here. Yep, that cannon is definitely going to come in handy. Got a little too close to that aircraft as it came through. So they're coming through. They're doing the best they can. And again, we've got those awful atoll missiles, which are rear aspect only, very short range. But at least we have a cannon. And believe it or not, the F-13 model, the first generation MiG-21, is a very maneuverable aircraft despite its age. Again, everybody quotes, the Phantom as being the largest distributor of MiG parts, and that's completely correct, but these MiGs could turn, and they could turn really well at low altitudes. Now, the big problem with these early versions is very limited range. So you can see we've got everybody into the Command Modern Operations Spiral of Doom here. That missile's not going to do anything. It's just going to go wild. Yeah, didn't even acquire the target, so it's just going to go end up in the woods somewhere. And they kind of go ahead and get their nice little spin going. They start going back and forth. Again, the Phantoms with their larger crews there, just taking advantage of the fact they can see better. Meanwhile, of course, the bombers that we were supposed to destroy this entire time, easily get into position in my entire group of MiG-15. My first generations are wiped out, not 15s, 21s rather. So they drop their bombs, mission failed. Now, all is not lost. One of the neat things about the early versions, and all MiG-21s have this, is the fact they are capable of dropping air-to-ground weapons, and depending on what variation determines the weapons. In the really, really early days, believe it or not, they had a basic ballistic computing system on board for dropping unguided weapons. I'll go ahead and pop these guys out real quickly here, just so you can see what it is. And this is the November model. This is the Generation 3. But it uses the same guidance. And the concept was actually pretty straightforward. What you would do is you basically load a tape into the little, it's not a heads-up display, basically your gun sight, and you had to fly within certain parameters in order to get the weapon to release correctly. Now, if you did all those things perfectly, you actually had a really good, accurate shot at whatever you're aiming at. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and do some unguided work against a bridge here. We're going to come ripping across. Again, this is 2,000 feet, so we're very, 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 very low here taking this shot. And again, good demonstration of the air-to-ground capability right there. Delightful. That was a really good hit. So as you can see, the first generation MiG-21, daytime fighter, garbage radar, can't self-search, decent bombing capability, good maneuverability. What did they do to improve upon it? Well, they did some interesting choices. Back in the mid-1960s, they introduced the P models. And there were several different P models of the MiG-15. I'm going to say F-15 at some point. It's going to happen. So when I come down here and open this up real quick, you'll notice we have something called the PF model. You'll also notice we have a PFM model, which is going to be this one right here. And we also have the SPS model and the SM models. Those are kind of the middle-of-the-road models. The P, if you want to kind of think about it from another term, is basically referring to the fact these are interceptor. I cannot pronounce the word. Perichavechik, basically version. And the PF would simply mean I'm an interceptor version with an uprated engine. Now the PFM just says, hey, not only am I an uprated version, I also have some modern tools. Now one of the crazy things about the upgraded version of this is notice we've lost the bubble canopy. But the other thing you'll notice with this particular one is our radar has improved. We now have the RP-21 spin scan radar, which has a 11, no, it's not 11 miles. If you're lucky, it's an 11-mile. But at least we can search for things. Now, the PFM model, I'll go ahead and call it PFM real quick so you can get an idea here. This one basically had the spin scan. This is the 21M. This is a slightly better version. Now, one of the crazy things they did when they decided to create the interceptor models, the Generation 2, is they did a great job making them all-weather day and night. But what they also did is they got rid of the cannon on board. Now that's going to cause some problems for us. So let's go ahead and get our scenario going again here. Clean all the ones I don't need to look at. That looks pretty good to me. I just want to look at the aircraft, please. So let's go ahead and grab the PFs and PFMs here. I'm actually going to grab 16 at a time here because these are very, very, very similar aircraft. Now there's a lot of things you're going to see go differently this time. For one, you'll notice that we have the ability to basically engage the targets much, much, much easier because now we have a radar. But we've eliminated the cannon, and we still have those awful, awful, awful air-to-air missiles, those rear aspect, basically, poor man's AIM-9Bs. Well, they're not. Actually, they were better than AIM-9Bs, but unfortunately, we had them for a very, very long time. Now, it's worth noting at some point during this Generation 2 of these that they actually introduced a radar-guided version of their A2 missile, and it was kind of interesting to see because it was not great. Now, again, this one has a better radar. You'll notice I've got a great search range, but you'll notice that the only way I can carry bullets is in a gun pod now. So I'm a gun podded, if you want to think about the F4B. And you can see the scenario kind of opens up the same way it did the last time. The AIM F4s, of course, do what F4s do best, and they go ahead and pop off the AIM 7s. Meanwhile, we close the range very, very aggressively here. You can see we're doing about 700 knots, which is delightful. A bunch more AIM 7s come arriving. We had no warning that they were launched at us. And of course, our first round of the PFs get knocked right out of the sky. Remember, the concept of these was not dogfighting. The concept of these was to have somebody on the ground tell them where to point their aircraft. And it's actually very impressive to see some of the later generations as far as capabilities goes. So we can see already we're basically having to chase down the F5s, or F4s, I should say. And it's a struggle. We now have a radar, though, which means we can actually acquire targets independently, which is awesome, which is making it much, much simpler for us to be able to keep an eye on things, especially if it degrades into the clouds. For example, Java 5.4 here is deep within the cloud layer, and he would have no capability to be able to see things otherwise if it weren't weren't for the fact he's got a radar. So we've improved things substantially in that particular regard. Now, the interesting thing here is our two bombers, our B-52s, kind of making their way through. We're still massively distracted by our good friends, the Phantoms, and having a heck of a time doing anything about it. So this guy's going to come around about 2,000 feet. This should be pretty clean. Now, remember, there is a tail gun on this bomber, and this guy's got to basically get it close enough to either use his AA-2As or he's going to have to use his cannon pod. And cannon pods are hard to use, and that was one of the ongoing problems. And again, he had to break away, he got a little too close. And I'm surprised the B-52 hasn't taken the shot back at him. Oh, there it is. So you could see that little last run there. Now he's kind of spiraling back and forth. Meanwhile, as everybody else is kind of doing their little piece here, you can see they're just really, really, really struggling. Even though we have twice as many aircraft in the air at this time, those F-4s are just, they're working. And now you can see all the F-4s are still completely operable because we just don't have the weapon systems to make this work. And the bombers got through again. So as you can see, even though we finally have a little bit better capability, we're still not that much better off because our weapons aren't keeping up with our capabilities. And knocking that gun out did nothing for us as far as dogfighting capabilities goes. And now you can see we're basically getting chased down by this one F4E here. This is going to go very badly for us if he manages to catch up. But again, that's not going to happen. Now, in the 1970s, the third generation of the MiG-21 came out, and this is kind of the multirole MiG-21. This is when we're going to do a lot of work to make it a much, much better aircraft. So I'm going to head back down here to this one. I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a MiG-21 BIS here. I love these things. We'll go ahead and open it, and there's basically two different variations on the BIS that most people think of. There's the L model, Fishpet L we like to call it. This one used something called the laser GCI system. Super unique. Notice, by the way, our aircraft is different. We lost that lovely bubble canopy. This is much bigger because we have bigger radar. We have more hard points on here. We also have a really, really slick tool. We have an emergency afterburner, which actually improves the agility of this aircraft substantially. We also have the Sapphire 21, the Sapphire 21, which is a little bit better. It's got a little bit longer range, about 20, 25 kilometers on a good day. We have a better radar warning receiver. They gave us a gun back, and incredibly, we finally have a weapon worth dogfighting with, the AA-8 AFID, the R60. This is going to make a big, big difference for us in our little engagement here. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. We're going to go ahead and grab those. It's also worth noting with the BIS, as well as our good friend, the SM, they're very, very similar models. Before you get incredibly confused, just think about anytime you see the word M, if you want to imagine the kind of third generation export models, S simply basically goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago, where these are going to be your models that are basically going to be using a special blown flaps system. So basically, anytime you see the letter S, know that they can land at a better and safer speed. Notice every time you see the word M, again, that'd be modernized. So if you had an SMF somehow, you'd have an uprated, modernized blown flaps version. Like, it's just kind of wild when you think about it. So believe it or not, the SM version is very, very, very similar to our BIS version. So what we'll do here is we'll actually launch both of these. Again, these are the third generations. They're multi-role aircraft. They carry a much more interesting collection. We'll throw them into the party here and kind of see how things change a little bit. Now, because we got rid of that obnoxious, very, very poor performance radar, because we got rid of that older missile, things really are going to change as far as the balance here. So we have this one, you can see right away, much bigger range than this one. We had no difficulty climbing. We've got the way more missiles on board. We've got the R60s, we've got the R13M, which is a much, 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 much improved version. And you can see the party's going to start, and just like before, because we've got that good radar warning receiver, we're going to get a heads up to know that we've been launched on. Ta-da! And we're also going to be able to turn right around and get the heck out of the way from that. Again, the AIM-7 is a great way of scattering us. And as you probably noticed, the bomber always got through because everybody was too busy running away. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Again, our fish beds, these are the nice low-speed ones. This is kind of like the predecessor to the BIS model. It's a really, really good one. It also has that R missile, the R3R that I was telling you about, which is that radar-guided version of basically an AIM-9. And we actually attempted to do something like that too, which is crazy. All right, so this is where we're going to start seeing the tide change. We can see here that this one group here, this is one of the SMs, is creeping up on that F4. That F4 is it's creeping up on the other one. I'll go ahead and take a look at the side here. And again, much, much, much better speed performance here. And we have a weapon that actually works. Still not great, and you can see he's basically outrunning the AIM-7 there in the bottom of my screen there. But as always, things get a little crazy here. Again, we get the big spiral going on top. Everybody's maneuvering, trying to get into a better position. And again, those F4s, easily holding themselves here. And that's one of the reasons I picked the F4 instead of like an F100. One of the bombers got through, and you'll notice here the gunfight is beginning. We're managing to sneak up on them a little bit better this time. We're taking better shots. This one looks like a really clean shot to me. I don't know why he's waiting on it. We can just have him. Oh, no, this is the R3S. Oh, it's such a garbage weapon. It'll never see him through the cloud. Let's see here. This is probably, yeah, it's an R3S as well. Come on, folks. Use your R60s. Those are actually kind of good. An R6, oh, there goes some of the F4s. They're starting to take casualties. Meanwhile, our B-52 friends are starting to sneak in, but one guy, MiG-21 here, he's cruising at 11,000 feet. He's burning into position here. Again, much, much better, those missiles at this particular time. Creeps up on him. He's going to come swing around. He's got to pull into him. He's going to try to get into a rear aspect. Slow down, buddy. Slow down. There it is. Look at that. Oh, oops. I've done that 100 times. Nope. Did not acquire. So it's gone a little wide. That happens all the time. Keep in mind the B-52 would be dropping all sorts. Oh, you got tail gunned. Keep in mind our B-52 would be dropping all sorts of flares and stuff when we're creeping up on them. Meanwhile, the big flurry of action above our airfield here is getting a little exciting. You can see it's just basically chaos. Somebody's trying to get the hit on the F4. Someone finally got the hit on the F4. Oh, there's still one left. Clouds just make this so challenging. Oh my gosh, that F4 just does not want to go down. All right, so now it's going to be a mad dash to try to get into position to engage our friends. You can see the S-60s there, I should say. KS-30s are joining in with the fun. Those are very, very large anti-aircraft guns. We actually managed to nail one of these. Coming through, coming through. It's looking a little better. Yeah, a little better. And the bomber got through once again. Oh, no. This bomber wins, by the way. You know how many times he's been hit? He's still going. Oh, we got another tailgun kill. And notice, because we have our own onboard cannon one more time, it makes it a little bit safer for us. There you go. Oh, hits him. Man, that guy just does not go down. That B-52 gets the award for survival here. Gosh, is he taking a lot of damage. Oh, got hit again, got hit again, got hit again, and he's still going. That's incredible. I think he's like running out of engines or something at this particular point. But the bomber got through. And look at that. I love how the KS-30's been just keep firing. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Bam. Bam. Now. Oh, my goodness. What the heck? He's on fire. Yeah, he's not coming back from that. Oh, my goodness. Okay, seriously. That is amazing. He's on fire. He's been hit so many times, and he is still going. There it is. He broke up. All right, let's take a look at the results here. Again, this is our third generation. They lost everything except for the B-1. Doesn't surprise me. We lost 6 airplanes in this engagement, which is a lot. Now, one of the things I'm going to point out here is for most people, this is when the story of the MiG-21 kind of ends. But the scary thing is, this isn't the end of the MiG-21. There are actually 2 very impressive versions of the MiG-21 that were basically modernized. And the first one of those, and this would be your 4th generation of MiG-21s, of course, is the upgrade one, which is also known as the Bison instead of the Fishbed. This thing is really cool and adds a lot of capability to this aircraft. You'll notice weapon-wise, we now have the ability to launch TV-guided weapons, which is awesome. You'll notice we also, incredibly importantly, can now fire the R-77 missile. We also have a much better gun sight on board. We have a helmet-mounted sight on board. This thing is nighttime, daytime, all the time kind of a fighter. Now, the interesting thing is we also got the slot back, which for those of you who know the slot back radar, is kind of a variation on the one on the MiG-29. Now, the scary thing is that's not the only fancy version. There's also the MiG-21, a Romanian version, which comes in the Lancer A, B, and C models. Now, these are nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a group of those nice ones, the Bison model here. So I'm going to grab all of those, and we're going to go ahead and just add them to our scenario. This is it, just R-77 carrying weapons here. These things are incredible. All right, watch this. Now, here comes our targets. We've spotted them right away. We now have that superior slot back radar. We now have the R-77s. We have the same engine on the BIS, so we're very, very fast. We got that emergency afterburner. We have helmet-mounted queuing on this thing. This thing is incredible. Look at this. Look at the radar range on this thing. This is totally, totally different compared to everything else we've dealt with before. I can actually grab my guys real quick, F1. I'm just going to give them a little bit of a manual push here. Nice. And they're going to come spin around. And again, we've got that superior interceptor speed, but look at the range we can deploy our weapons. The F4s haven't even barely gotten their AIM-7s off before the R-77s show up and scatter the Phantoms instead of the other way around, which is what was happening before. Oh, we got one. Oh, that Phantom did not expect that to happen. And we can see a bomber's kind of sneaking through here. I'm not going to let that bomber get through this time. And look at the difference here. The AIM-7s being a semi-active radar-guided missile, the F-4 has to maintain contact at all times to get that shot off. So the incredible thing is oh, this is going to go poorly for him. Oh my goodness, look at that. It is scattering them. We're scattering them. Our weapons have beyond visual range. Gosh, what a difference in performance here. And we just got that one, and we just splattered that one. And again, the F-4 is still doing a pretty good showing for their technology, but it is just a clean sweep. This Lancer here, I'm not the Lancer, I should say, the Bison, the 93 version of this aircraft, is just fabulous. It has no difficulty keeping up. We're having a little bit of trouble with the, this is probably a B-1, yeah. We're having some trouble with the B-1 because the B-1's jamming suite is some of the most sophisticated on the planet. It is fabulous. I think it is the only aircraft I've ever been able to get a hit on some of the most heavily defended cities on planet Earth. So it definitely can be used aggressively, and you can see it's just not, bomber got through. Meanwhile, of course, our two B-52 buddies, we're going to have this problem. They do their nice little splits, come right around. Again, we've got that beyond visual range. We still have that tremendous acceleration, and you can see that just in seconds, it just spam. We've got the cannon. That poor B-52 got swarmed and taken down. Still going. Okay, this is a lesson in why B-52s are amazing. And just like that, with the 4th generation, completely changes things. We got everybody this time. The only thing we lost was a single peer. Now, the crazy thing is the fun doesn't end there because the technology in those transferred over as well as far as air-to-ground platforms. So not only were they multi-role, but they also had some capability to do some very, very precise dropping. So what we'll do here is we'll grab our friends, the MiG-21, this is the Lancer A, this is the Romanian version, and we're going to go ahead and demonstrate just how much more accurate the bombing is before. Now, as you recall, we went ahead and did a bomber mission earlier. We did an okay job of it. We were about 2,000 feet. And again, these guys here now have targeting pods on board. So even though they're Mark 82 bombs, we have the ability to basically take advantage of advanced GPS, GLONASS, everything along those lines, and just watch how much simpler this is. He just flies over, he looks through his little thing, he pushes the button, and you can see these lovely B-52s here, or not B-52s, Mark 82s, just come dropping down and wham, splatter that bridge. To give you an idea of how incredible that aircraft has evolved over time. Now, as you've seen here, the earlier versions, daytime, garbage search radar, later versions, a little bit better radar, later versions, a little bit better air-to-ground, later versions, finally, beyond visual range. But you can see from a tactical perspective, this aircraft was designed exactly for what I was using it for, which was basically a point defense platform. Now, you're sitting there saying, you know, it's a little stacked that you've been using the F-4 the whole time. What if it was an F-100? We'd have a much more balanced battle. But again, it would all come down to what variation of the aim we have for that one. Now, the interesting thing, too, is the fact that a lot of these aircraft would be used in conjunction with ground-based surface-to-air missile systems. So what I've done is I've actually gone through and added some SA-2s. So let's go ahead and grab that original engagement that we saw. We'll grab the F model again, the upgraded version. Toss that in here again. We're just grabbing 8 of these. But this time we're going to help them out a little bit. And I give them a little bit of help from some surface-to-air missile batteries here. So again, same basic problem as you saw before. Without that long-range weaponry, it really stacks the deck here. And again, initial shots, but of course in a few moments our SAM sites are going to kind of join into the party. And things get a little interesting. Oh, there goes our SAMs. And again, you can watch now the Phantoms have a little bit more work to do than they did previously. This also means that sneaky B-1 bomber, let's see here, where's our B-1? That's probably our B-1 there. Where is he? He's pretty low. Yeah, it's going to be a tough shot, but we'll do the best we can here. All right, and again, our SAMs are going to come joining us in a second. Gosh, he's low. We're not even going to be able to come close to taking a shot at him. There we go. SAM's going up. Let's go ahead and help us out a little bit. We'll send some of the PF models here. Actually, that's easy. I can just come over here and just grab them. PF. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. So now if I unpause here, we've got SAM sites helping us out a little bit, which does make it a little bit more fair, but the reality is SAM sites operating in the vicinity of your own friendly aircraft, the probability of accidentally hitting one of your own friendly aircraft was very high. And that was indeed one of the large problems they had in many of these engagements because that exact kind of thing would happen. So now we're combining our MiG-21s with the surface-to-air missile batteries, and things are going to get a little different because our bombers now can no longer get close enough. Like you can see, our SAM-3 is just having a fun time there, and meanwhile, our MiG-21s are running out of things to shoot at because the SAM-3 is doing such a bang-up job of basically doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is to intercept these large aircraft. Ah, look at that. Nope, nope. Oh boy. I imagine those Phantoms are feeling pretty confident right now. Notice the bombers got through again. That is just the story. Look at all these MiG-21s going, uh-oh. Of course, if I added a SAM-5, this would be a totally different experience, but that's okay. Look at this. Ah, he ran out of range. Excellent. So as you can see, the MiG-21 has had a pretty big evolution as well. First came out in 1959. It is still used in some places throughout the world, which blows my mind. I think that's absolutely incredible. For those of you who have ever had the opportunity to experience it in DCS, it's one of my favorite modules because it's just so hard to fly, and it's limited, but at the same time, you can do some really stupid things with that big delta wing, which makes it a ton of fun. Enjoy.